What's up, folks? Kuro the Artist here. We are 3 series in and had many a story arc, couple character changes, this happened, that happened. You know, we're at a point where the show is starting to feel exhausting to keep up with. Back in the day, around Ultimate Alien Season 3 is where the fanbase really started to take a dive. I've been getting tons of comments across the breakdown saying this is around where people started dropping the show. While Alien Force Season 3 was a pretty frustrating change, people still held on to it. But with Ultimate Alien Season 3, what happened here? Let me just check my... Ah, there it is. The Dagon arc. Alright, I don't actually think the Dagon arc is the entire reason. In fact, I think a large part of it was the unfocused, lackluster string of episodes that this season began with. If you want my thoughts on those, check out the quick reviews on our second channel, The Rust Bucket, linked below. Those episodes definitely played a huge part in turning the fans away, to the point where a lot of people didn't even watch or even knew about the Dagon arc. But of course, as for the arc itself, it was very ambitious, but a bit of a mess. Lots of unfocused storytelling and loose threads untied, more filler episodes randomly interwoven that screwed with the pacing, a significant lack of interesting fight scenes, the new aliens were pretty lame, and it all ends with some pretty cool ideas, but they were terribly misused. Personally, there's a lot of things I like about this arc, but it's solely out of selective interests. I like the idea that it's not just Ben versus a bad guy, but 2 separate factions starting a war. Ben is simply caught in the middle. Old George is one of my favorite characters across the franchise, and the lore itself is pretty neat, but I can really only enjoy these things when I block out all the muddled storytelling. Oh, and when I say this arc was ambitious, it's also because it chose to focus on the Forever Knights once again, who are notorious for already having 2 failed story arcs. One because it was barely considered an arc, and the other because they straight up had to stop telling the story and ignored their previous events. This led to them becoming a huge joke in Alien Force, and by Ultimate Alien, they're barely even considered a joke. It's just kinda pathetic. Even Dr. Animo seems to have more of a pull on the threat level status than an entire army using alien weaponry. They never seem to be able to decide on a goal either. Even some official media have no idea what the Knights are. Like, take a look at this thing. This band of age-old Knights have one goal and one goal only: to destroy Ben Tennyson and his team. That's some bullshit. What about the Dragon Planet, or the technology harvesting, or whatever the fuck that Mayan shit was? Their ruler is the Forever King. Which one? Age 1,000 years old. They definitely just made that shit up for the DVD. In fact, in this very episode, they say it's 2,000. And these powers can be applied to, like, any villain Ben goes up against. I'm just saying, the Knights are a dicey choice to try to make an arc out of. But I'll admit the Dagon arc does bring their threat level back up, and the Esoterica are really cool enemies, so you can tell the Dagon arc has quite a bit to talk about. So today, we're gonna take a look at the episode where it all began. But first, if this is your first breakdown and you're curious about how my rating system works, there's a detailed description down below, along with a link to all my previous breakdowns, but by all means, watch this one first. I'm sure you'll still enjoy it. But first, I want to give a shout out to Jordan Fringe. He recently did 3 videos across the entire Ben 10 franchise, and they're really good watches. Each of them's pretty long, but if you're willing to sit through my breakdowns, these should be a piece of cake. And he even shouted us out at the end of the 3rd one, which I really appreciate, so I figured I'd return the favor. So go check him out, I'll link his videos down below. Also, I just finished playing through Vilgax Attacks. That should also be up on the Rust Bucket when this video comes out too. I played a very glitchy version of it, so it made it pretty fun, but also a different kind of challenging. I don't know, it's pretty neat. I'd take a look if you got some time. I was also sent this really cool 5-whale Swampfire figure by Captain Eon. I did a video about this on the Rust Bucket as well if you want to check that out. A lot of shit happening on the Rust Bucket lately. If you're not subscribed, you're missing out. Anyways, let's move on to the episode. Len Uli gave us The Creature from Beyond, which first premiered March 25th, 2011. The trio investigate a broken magic seal deep within a cave, and learn that it belonged to the original Forever Knight 2,000 years ago. The broken seal releases a creature that starts to mind control people, including Gwen herself. The trio must team up with the Forever Knights to stop it from taking over everybody. Also, quick note, I accidentally recorded the breakdown section with my webcam mic instead of this one, so the audio is pretty rough. I did my best to clean it up, but, you know, just brace yourself.
Surprisingly, the hand movements match the mouse just enough to make it look pretty accurate. But yeah, you can see some disconnect there. But hey, props for them going through with actually animating a whole solitaire screen just for a background effect.
Oh, hello, Doctor.
Is that Yuri Lowenthal? No, Robin Atkins, who was also Jonah in the classic series and Hex in the reboot.
The residents are all in bed except for Old George.
Boom, Old George. So despite my comments in the last breakdown, with that line there, it does fare better to watch things in production order rather than airing, because one of the last things you hear in the last episodes is beware Old George.
Beware Old George. Beware the creature from beyond.
And then this episode begins with them mentioning Old George, so it ties those threads together.
The residents are all in bed except for Old George.
It's a very nice looking background too. I'd chill here for a bit.
That's the only name we have for him.
Interesting that they keep the old part though, and they don't just call him George.
I don't know, he's been here since the place opened back in the 70s.
Maybe this place was built specifically for George? That's not too far-fetched. This is kind of the equivalent of veterans watching old war movies. Now this coin he has, do they ever explain what it's supposed to be? I know it has the same symbol as the Forever Seal. I kind of wish it had more significance. And this guy, Winston, not to be confused with Squire, who did look very similar. Same uniform and haircut, but different faces and voices. And our first look at the Forever Seal. Wonder if these things actually translate to stuff. Not gonna lie, when I usually have to do something like this, I just Google magic symbols and pick the ones that look the most interesting. But I admire when people make the extra effort to build some type of code for all these alien scripts. Like how there's actually a Klingon language, or the Na'vi language in Avatar.
I'm not sure you should do that.
Winston here is voiced by Patrick Cavanaugh.
I'm going to open it. I'm wagering alien weapons.
Pretty cool weapon, but even things that are shaped like a drill shoot lasers. Everything's a laser in this show now. Very good effect here. Crack starts splitting down, but it's in pure black, so you can get away with adding it into the background. But you also need a background where this wouldn't look out of place to just have, of course, the light shooting out of it, because who's in there? So they don't even know what's in here, and they're busting it open. Old George is triggered. So he can sense the seals being opened with this coin. And I believe that's the only purpose it serves. I don't think we really see it after this. So yeah, I mean, it has a purpose. I guess that's all it really needs to do. Did you really just knock my shit over?
George?
The definition of you had one job, and he lets this guy go. All these backgrounds are looking really good for UA. Even the door is animated with some texture, and you can see a perspective switch in the window as it closes. Won't be the last time we see this area. Continuing the passive saga of Ben losing sleep.
I felt a ripple in the mana. I thought we should check it out.
So now we're just being vague as shit with her powers. I mean, this isn't the first time they've done it. There was also that cosmic mana line she had in Plumber's Helpers.
I'm at one with the cosmic mana, feeling the energy of the universe flowing around and through me.
So generally, she needs some type of source, usually a mana signature, in order to track things down. But every now and then they treat it like mana is like the Force, like this intangible, universal-sized aura that mana users link up to. And she's like, oh, there's a disturbance in the Force right now, which I don't really have a problem with. It's just, that's only true sometimes. And as with all of Gwen's powers, if she can do crazy stuff like that, things should be so much easier for the team.
You're not driving us down? The gravel will chip my paint.
Well, your car can fly, right? So the coloring of the atmosphere has changed to brown, with it previously being blue. Small way of showing they're deep inside of a cave now, and this isn't outdoors.
Oh yeah, that's some rippled mana right there.
Easy to miss, but you can see some Forever Knight's weapons and helmets behind all these rocks, showing that they have failed to defeat whatever just escaped. It's the Cartoon Network version of showing a pile of dead bodies.
With an uninvited guest.
A friend of yours, no doubt.
A friend of theirs that's 2,000 years old behind a seal with their logo on it? Come on, man. Also, Sir Cyrus here is also voiced by Robin. We get a lot of new Forever Knights characters in UAF, but usually they only appear like 1 or 2 episodes, and they all kind of act the same, so you don't really differentiate between them. But so like if you put in the effort to learn the lore very intricately, kind of respectable that you actually have all these different factions of the Knights and can identify who leads what squad. But I mean, they're all kind of just the Knights.
Hey, it must be Monty Python week.
Monty Pythons is one of those things that everyone feels okay just openly referencing in other media. Like, you know, a lot of media doesn't directly say Star Wars, they just allude to it or do a parody of it or something. But Monty Python, people will just straight up say Monty Python.
So, which group are you guys with? Urian, Patrick, the Forever King?
That's so funny. I was just talking about all the different factions and how they kind of bleed together, and here Ben goes joking about it.
Urian, Patrick, the Forever King?
Also interesting that Ben still refers to Driscoll as the Forever King.
Frauds and apostates, ours is the true path.
Yeah, sure it is, man.
Faithful to the first knight.
Another faction? I'm gonna have to start keeping notes.
Well, you can always check the Ben 10 wiki, Gwen. They're getting a better track record for their accuracy. These tracks right here, though, look straight up like stylus marks. Like, I can see the pressure of the brushstrokes through this.
What tried to break into your vault?
To the best of our knowledge, you did.
Oh, so he thinks it's them just because he rolled up and saw them here? Winston, buddy, you gotta speak up. You know what really happened. In fact, it's surprising that he hasn't told him what really happened before they even showed up here. Like, Winston would have had to go back, get Cyrus, and bring him back there, and not once did he tell him what really happened. Man should be fired.
Nobody move, or the changeling suffers.
Then so unfazed by having a gun pointed at him. And just like Eye of the Beholder, we see Humungosaur growing again without gaining any of his armored plating.
Stay back.
Or maybe he's just growing to Humungosaur's base size. Like, you know how Ben, when he went from Nanomech to way big, first he was Nanomech size and then had to grow to way big size. Maybe that's what's happening here. I was gonna say when Ben transforms back, he just has the Forever Knight weapon in his hand. But you actually do see Humungosaur holding on to it in this shot.
We have a situation here.
It was Sir Reginald. He tried to open it with a laser drill and there was an explosion.
Sir Reginald. Kinda looks like Omniverse Captain Nemesis.
I was trying to translate the inscriptions, but didn't finish in time. Sir Reginald Squire, me knight, was.
Oh shit, so did Sir Reginald die? I know this arc starts killing off a lot of people, and these helmets are to imply death, but I thought that was just like throwaway knights. Alright, so Sir Reginald right here is the first named character to die in this arc.
You're telling me that even though it's got a big Forever Knight symbol on it, you don't know what's inside?
That seal is infused with magic.
The Forever Knights were using magic back in the day. You know, medieval knights can also be associated with like potions and dragons and fighting ogres and stuff. So now we're looking a little bit into the mystical side of knights rather than their strictly alien racism.
A Forever Knight would never use magic.
Why? Like, they're very solidified in their anti-alien stance, I get that, even though they steal alien technology and use it anyways. But why would they be against magic? Like, that hasn't been a thing, right? And if his faction is truly supposed to preserve the original intentions of the first knight, who was a magic user, then he should be fine with it. Although he also did say,
Any records were long since lost to time.
so there's probably no record of the first knight using magic. Still, it seems weird to have a bias against magic without a basis.
Maybe I should stay here with Winston.
What? No, bad idea.
It's very interesting that Kevin's getting jealous over Winston, even though a few episodes ago Cooper, who objectively has a better chance at Gwen than Winston, he was totally fine with. Maybe it's because Winston is able to relate to Gwen on a level that Kevin never could when it comes to translating magic enchantments and all of that. So he feels threatened by something that Winston can offer Gwen that he can't. Whereas with Cooper, you know, athletic body, knowledge on technology, plumber status, a unique and cool superpower, Kevin's got all of what Cooper's got in spares, but he doesn't have magical knowledge, hence feeling threatened, hence the jealousy.
We'll all go on the hunt together.
Yeah, they are with their flying ship things. Is this the first time we see these? We've seen their weird robot horse things, and I can't really remember any of their other vehicles. They had trucks in the pilot of AF. What would you even call this? Like, how would I look this up? Is there like a category of the Forever Knights technology? No, it doesn't look like it. Oh yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is our first time seeing their little jousting jets. That's what I'm gonna call them.
Squire Whiffle?
Winston!
Can't bother to remember. He's not important enough.
Kevin's starting to feel like how I feel about the Forever Knights.
We've detected an alien life form.
Ah, yes, the Lacubra. This thing had a really cool design. It's got like that transparent texture that Goop has, but he's not a shapeshifter. And the pure red teeth, very intriguing. See, this thing is so cool looking. This design's a perfect example of a little goes a long way. So if you look at him, he doesn't even have any shading or shine textures. He is all flat colors, but it still looks pretty good.
Fire!
No!
You hear that reverb on his voice?
No!
Also, small thing, but really ambitious to drop the thumb at this angle. Very tricky to get stuff like this to look right. It's my boy. It's cool to see him control these vines. Usually they just grow and then they're frozen. Now he's using them to grab onto things and pull them out. It's very nicely animated too. Yeah, burn the crossbow. Man, of course this thing can shoot a laser too. In fact, at this point, if your character can't shoot a laser, it's not a Ben 10 character. She should do that more. She's usually stuck stationary when she's making a shield, but she could be more mobile when she's forming shields.
A fresh mind for the feast.
I really like that filter they're putting on this possessed man.
Fresh mind for the feast.
It sounds like it's just double layer audio with a reverb. There's gotta be something else there too.
A fresh mind for the feast.
Some kind of like wave distortion effect. Sounds great. Ugh, what a painful stream. Yeah, see, even the designs of these things right here. It's like just enough. I really like how it looks. And it's cool that the Lacubra can latch onto multiple things at once. In the possessed eyes, change the color of their eyeball and eye pupil rather than just making them glow. I feel like making them glow is a very default decision for showing something is possessed. And since she already has green eyes, it's not that much of a difference either. So this is a way to make them green, but a different kind of green, and also be unique without defaulting to just glowing eyes.
How may I serve the Great One?
Although it looks like it's in pain because it can't possess Kevin. That's interesting. And a good way to show our first line of defense against it. Kevin can't be possessed when he's in his metal form.
This is not gonna go over well.
Ben just time out, or did he decide to change back? Yo, go after it.
Lucubra, that's what it calls itself.
So Gwen obtained that knowledge from being connected to its mind. So we never actually heard it called Lucubra, and as you can see from this episode, it doesn't speak. Also, another interesting way to show that even if things seem savage and feral, they're still intelligent enough to have perception of things like names and sense of self. Makes you wonder if Vulpamancers named themselves too.
I could feel it in my head, fishing around.
That's gotta be gross and uncomfortable.
If you three hadn't interfered...
You'd all be in jail for shooting a cop, and the Lucubra would still have your squire.
That's pretty valid. Do you think the Knights would respect that and actually go to jail? Because, like, yeah, they should be in jail, but I mean, they got super-powered laser-shooting armor. The cops can try to arrest them, but I doubt they could.
Here's the lad's rucksack.
We'll do our best.
Sorceress.
Yeah, I guess the Knights are just prejudiced against magic too now, instead of just aliens. Like, I guess they could have been this whole time, but it's, like, never come up.
Either of us runs into the Lucubra. Let the other one know.
If my squire is in danger, I will do whatever needs be done.
Wow, he really cares about his squire. I respect that. Good man, Sir Cyrus. Always looking out for your boy. Little Kubra's right fucking here. Yeah, so he's definitely intelligent. He's like plotting and scheming. And he's laughing too. Alright, this thing is a lot more intelligent than I originally gave it credit for. Ben's flying as Chromastone. I love this so much. It's a small sign of power growth. His Omnitrix is glowing too, a sign that he's using his communicator.
Winston's notes are pretty useless. They're mostly about some first knight forging that vault 1700 years ago.
That's not useless, Gwen. That's like the whole point of this arc.
It was a monster jail, and they opened the door and let him out.
So cool to see Gwen using her powers like this. It's probably very useful too, because like she's in a car without a desk, so having everything float around her instead of making a mess on her lap or something as like Kevin's twisting and turning in the car.
I think it was a mystic seal to prevent a demon from crossing between two worlds.
Yeah, Ben 10's dealing with demons now. Something about that word. It unlocks the edgelord in me. Bring on the demons!
Lucubra is a creature from another dimension.
Like hell?
So we know where to send him back.
Yeah, send that bitch back to Lucifer. Just to be clear, I don't actually think it's hell. I'm just making jokes. You'd think I wouldn't have to make that clear.
That stuff all belongs to Winston. Maybe you could track him.
Maybe.
Maybe? You can maybe track him with all of these different things that are his, but you can definitely just sense a random disturbance in the mana field. Aw shit, so this is the Lucubra's POV of him escaping. That means that all these runes should be flipped. And from what I can tell, they are not. Unless it just has the same writing. Well, it doesn't have to be flipped. You know, like a coin has two different pictures on each side. It doesn't have to be like a reverse of whatever's on one side. Crack here is at least different from how it was on the other side too. That is a genuine mistake. Cool that it does the lens bulge, but if you look at the edges, you can see some distortion here, and then when you get to the side right here, like see that right there? And this right here? That shouldn't be happening. This is a good looking shot though. Oh, we actually see the death of Reginald. This is the face of a man that fucked up hard. For those of you that don't like the Dagon arc, you have Sir Reginald here to blame.
I accidentally connected to the Lucubra. Intersection of Roper and Hawthorne. Get here fast.
What was that, Roburn?
Intersection of Roper and Hawthorne.
Roburn? I feel like those could be references to something, but I'm not sure what. If y'all think you know what it is, let me know in the comments. I'll play it for you one more time.
Intersection of Roper and Hawthorne.
Roberg, maybe? I don't know.
Meet you there.
I love the way that Chromastone flies, too. And here they come on their jousting jets.
They haven't found the tracking device in Winston's rucksack.
Ah, so they're tracking the Tennysons. So they expected the trio not to notify them and planned for it. Very crafty, Cyrus. This is why you're in charge.
Right. First we kill the beast.
It's pretty funny seeing him load a crossbow like a gun.
Kill the beast, then our truce with Ben Tennyson comes to an end, as does his life. I swear, in the name of the first knight.
Look how big this PNG grows. Like, you're really getting in there. You can see like the imperfections of the digital inking. Because this was drawn to be viewed from like, what, this frame? Oh no, when it pops like this, Yeah, right here. That's when you can tell. And the outlines look a little bit thinner, so maybe it was drawn like, maybe this was its full size, and then zoomed in this far. That is very ambitious. This storage place looks familiar. Is this where they fought Argent in Alien Force? Hey, it is! Nailed it. So this is a reused background from like multiple seasons ago, and I'm gonna assume that this is at least a new one, so props for them being able to create backgrounds years apart that still look relatively the same. Oh, this one does have some changes, like there's a grid on the floor and a trim on the building, which are both missing from here. Big ol' warehouse. Yeah, I don't know, something about Chromastone's flying is just very satisfying to me.
Better let the Knights know where we are.
We'll call them after it's all over.
Except Cyrus prepared for that. That's neat. Creates a sphere that, like, bends open the doors, I guess. Honestly, that would be so scary to climb up, because I'd always be thinking about how Gwen can break concentration and you'd fall. Ironically, this is the episode where that does happen, but I mean, she's done this many different times, and I would always be like, ugh. Also, it must be pretty tricky to have to animate people climbing up stairs that are also transparent, because there's certain angles that happen that usually you don't have to worry about. There's the posse. This might even be the same warehouse where they fought that Tekadon. Let me see, 2 for 2. Maybe? Some of the buildings around the area look the same. And the windows look the same too, so even if it is the same location in universe, it doesn't look like a reused background. But if anything, it shows consistency. It also shows that Bellwood repaired these windows from being shattered.
Gwen!
Uh-oh. So that's exactly what I would be afraid would happen every time they do that. Ben's got really good reflexes to pull that out. Now he saved himself, Julie, and Gwen and Kevin using Goop from a falling height. Goop's animated very well. Doesn't look like he has his anti-gravity projector though. But I mean, at this point, just stop expecting it. Yeah, should not be possible.
It wants energy from the parietal lobe, the part of the brain you use when you pray or meditate.
In case y'all were wondering, that's actually kind of legit. A lot of interesting things to read about the parietal lobe. But yeah, we're at a point in Ben 10 where Forever Knights are letting out demons that are feeding on prayers. This is some crazy shit. They've pretty much gone as far as they can with aliens. They already went outside of the universe, broke up and regrouped the team. Might as well start fucking around with demons, am I right?
We have to save those people. Gwen stays out of it.
I can hold my own.
Oh, Gwen, don't be like that.
Thing got its hooks into you.
And I shook it off.
Interesting for Gwen to be so stern about being part of the team. Usually she's the level-headed one. Unless this is the Lacubra talking that's trying to convince Gwen to come closer. Like she has this residual urge to be involved because of what the Lacubra did. Because normally she'd be smart enough to be like, you're right, Kevin.
We can't afford to lose you.
Alright, they're straight up dating at this point. They've already kissed. Kevin, you could just say you can't afford to lose her. We don't have to keep dancing around your feelings anymore.
If we get into trouble, but only if, then you jump in.
Look how gigantic they are. Like, this all seems like it'd be fine if you look at the building, but look at the parking lot spaces. Like, imagine cars inside of these spaces, and then look at the trio right here. Oh shit, transformation sequence. We don't really see these often anymore. And it's a new one, Armadrillo. And it's okay. Armor is literally just popping into frame down him, but the heavy kunk sound effects help with the transition. And yeah, I mean, it's animated very well. It looks like he's just gaining armor rather than transforming. I do like how it looks though. Pop that piston. This part right here though, this is straight up transforming, and I like that. You see his eyes shift into shape, then his ears go up into the armor, and then poke back out through the top right here. It's missing his pistons though. Zombies! So now we're seeing him control them without actually touching. Probably because he's deeply rooted into their minds now.
To be honest, I am considering it now.
Okay, I am done with waiting.
You waited literally, like, I can probably even count it. Alright, so she runs up. She's done waiting here. What is that? 7 seconds. 7 seconds, Gwen.
Let them weaken the creature, then we can attack in force.
Cyrus got a good battle strategy, though. Alright, so excellent planner, loyal to his underlings, tries to pursue the original intentions of the Knights. Cyrus, I gotta say, he's a pretty honorable dude. But man, the Forever Knights are still kind of lame, though. Damn, so Ben busted a hole on one side and Gwen busted a hole on the other side. After Bellwood already paid to fix the windows the last time they fucked this place up. Come on, guys. Now they got 2 giant holes in this building to worry about. You might as well just break the whole thing down.
Gwen, get out of here!
Tinfoil hat.
A joke about the tinfoil hat conspiracies. Also really cool to see Kevin use his powers on other people. I think the only other time we've seen that so far is when he shielded that guy from an explosion in Plumber's Helpers. Oh, and also when he fused together the arms of Pandora's armor.
Ben, I need a hole.
Before we start, we need to see some fucking mosh pits in here. This next guest is the fucking Wiggles! Oh shit! Who's selling?
Wow. That's neat. She's no stranger to forming constructs, but this is the most detailed construct we've seen her do. Although it magically repairing the ground. I did say magically, so. I'm just saying, it seemed like way too quick of a solution. Kinda makes me wish I had a she can just do that counter, or Gwen pulling random spells and moves out of her ass. Looks like this is one image that they put onto the sphere that they just keep stretching appropriately.
Go buy yourself a cookie.
We call them biscuits.
Very important piece of Forever Knight lore.
Did you destroy the beast?
I sent it back where it came from.
Somehow. Didn't need to know where it came from, didn't need to know its destination, didn't need to know how to do that kind of spell. Maybe she learned it from Winston's notes though, you know? I'll give her that benefit of the doubt. It seems a little bit vague for my liking, but I'll let it slide.
Okay, he's cute, we get it.
She didn't even say shit. But even if she was, you know, Kevin was checking out Eunice in front of Gwen a few episodes ago.
Yeah, she looks pretty healthy to me too. Ow! She's way too good looking for you.
What about Julie?
Just barely in your range, but okay.
Charmcaster.
Is she cute? More than cute. Hot.
Kevin!
Don't knock the view if others look too.
You are not to fraternize with the enemy.
Damn, this guy's being instantly aggressive. Alright, now that you're alive, come here, you little shit. Uh-oh. It ain't over. And now we're back to the seal. Here's old George. Man walked all the way here in some slippers. Imagine getting down the giant rock crevice in these. At his age, that's it. He just wanted to inspect it. Alright, Creature from Beyond. First episode of the Dagon arc. For the plot, I'm just gonna give it a 2. Not too many problems with this episode. I think it's a good way to segue into the Dagon arc. It doesn't really feel like anything happened here. We don't realize how important the Lacubra, the Magic Seal, or Old George is until way later. Despite Paradox's one line, we still don't see how everything connects. It's just giving us a few pieces of what's going to be built upon in the future, and I think it does a good job. It kinda has a side story to tie it together, with the Knights and the trio teaming up to take down the Lacubra. But I mean, aside from the seal belonging to the Knights were kind of useless in this plot. They also didn't understand what the seal was, so they couldn't offer any more information. The only one who really did anything is Winston. But after the beginning scene with the Knights tell the trio a little bit about what happened with the drill, they don't need to be there for the rest of the time. Gwen could have handled the Lacubra by herself. And I'm not saying the Knights need to like be super important to the story. You know, it's also nice to have them there just to give the trio some dialogue to bounce off of and start laying down the atmosphere of what it's going to be like for the rest of the arc, since the Knights are important. But their strong presence makes you feel like they're gonna be involved in the resolution at the end, which they aren't. So yeah, they are kind of just side pieces for the story. We also got the note that Kevin's metal and NRG's armor, basically any type of metal that protects your cranium, helps you resist the effects of the Lacubra, and then later the effects of Dagon. I don't know, there's really not a lot to say about this episode. It's an episode of setting things up, and it sets those things up. That's about it. Characterization, I'll give it a 4. Trio's written in character, and they're fine. Winston's an interesting addition to the cast. I kind of wish they leaned a little more into the tension between Gwen and Kevin, because it seems to be all one-sided. Kevin's jealous of Winston, and Winston seems to pay no mind to Kevin. I would have liked that for 2 reasons. One, it would also give the Knights and the trio more of a reason to interact with each other. Winston and Gwen could become friends, and thus they're able to have interactions with the Knights outside of conflict. And also, it'd be a nice way to put a little bit of pressure on Gwen and Kevin's relationship, you know? He did just try to drain all of her mana and kill her cousin last season. And anytime they have conflict, it's always with themselves, where they just argue over who knows what. This would be a way to be able to test their relationship in a perspective outside of their own views. I don't know, that's turning the episode into something entirely different. That's just a rambling thought I had. Visuals, it'll get a 2. The Lacubra is pretty interesting. Seeing the Forever Knight seal, it's got a neat design. Animation was alright. It's all just very typical Ultimate Alien. Nothing special here. Importance, it'll get a 5. You know, it's the arc starter. Everything that it introduces is important and does come back later. But entertaining, it's gonna get another 2. It's just, I don't want to say boring, because there are interesting things to it. It's just very level, I guess. Maybe intriguing. Like, it's a very intriguing episode, but I wouldn't really say entertaining. It's like, alright, yeah. this stuff is happening now. So that puts The Creature from Beyond at a 15 out of 25. Let's move on to the final thoughts.
Last week I asked y'all what your favorite part about the Ben 10,000 episode was, and by a majority response, it was not Ben 10,000 himself, but the foreshadowing of Clockwork. If 70% of people are more impressed with a hologram than a whole entire character, that speaks a lot of truth to the mishandling of him. This week, I want to ask y'all what your favorite UA additional transformation is outside of the Andromeda 5. We got Fast Track, Chameleon, Clockwork, Jury Rig, and Edel. Let me know what y'all think in the community tab when this video goes live. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your weekend. And as always, keep it fizzy.
Come here one more time. Come here, man. Come here. Guys, make some fucking noise for some legends. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming out.